All right, so we can get started now. Good evening, everyone, again. Thank you so much for doing this. I started doing this in 2020 during COVID-19, actually, when we were all remote.
Mhm.
And over the years, it just grew. And I'm always surprised about, the amount of social workers that actually volunteer their time to do this. It's a great opportunity for students because I'm in the classroom and I'm teaching them, but it's a difference from hearing from real social workers in the field working. A student may say, I want to work in child welfare or I want to work in a school, but hearing someone who's actually doing that work, it makes a significant difference. So thank you so much for joining. For those that don't know me, I'm Dr. Sampson. I work for Medgivers College. I'm in the social work department. I'm also the director for practicum education, and this is my passion. I love what I do. So there's so many social workers that volunteer this evening. So I'm I'm excited about that, but I don't have all the names. So what I'm gonna do is just ask everyone in no particular order. You're gonna take 5 minutes, introduce yourself, say what you do, what area of social work you practice in, why did you choose social work? Why social work? Why not another career? What are some of the hiccups? What are some of the ups and downs? And then finally, what would you recommend to a current social work students? So I'll put that in the chat also because I know it was a lot, but the floor is open to any takers who wish to go first. And then after each person has presented, I want the students to ask questions. Any type of questions that you have, feel free to jump in and ask because this is for you. This platform is for you. So,
Hi, can I go first?
sure.
Because I need to just pause a minute.
Okay.
Um, so my government name is Dr. Zodelia Williams, and I am a master hustler social worker. So in my real life, I'm a school social worker for New York City Department of Education, and this is my 25th year. I am also the field education director for the BSW program at Torrey University Worldwide. And I'm also the founder, executive director of 3Ds Aftercare Inc., which is a community center in Baldwin. We do morning, after school, summer camp, age like fine wine, 55 plus club, teen parent that rocks parenting program, as well as lots of programs. And so, besides that, I also do ABA, home care. So I am here to tell you that it is the greatest hustle in the universe. The MSW degree is unlike no other degree. I didn't choose social work. Actually, chose social work chose me. I was a young mom. If it were not for strangers, I would not have made it when I went to Kingsborough. So I have 1,000 degrees and things behind me, and the one that's closest to my heart is the associate's degree because that's where I was and that's what I needed at the time. So when I mentor students or interns, I'm also a field supervisor, come and they feel defeated, I let them know that, listen, it's not where you start this race. People counted me out because I was a young mom. I didn't have the college experience, the street skills like everyone did. And I was able to get my associates, my bachelor's, my master's, and then my doctorate. So the is the limit as long as you want to do it. And in social work, one of the greatest things about this degree is that there is a social work in any industry. So there's nothing you can't do. You do not have to be limited to ACS or limited to therapy. While I am a therapist, it's not my wheelhouse. It's not what I like to do. I'm more macro level social worker. And I'll pause right there. Well, let me see if I left anything on. Oh, advice. The advice that I would say is that one, surround yourself with people who know more than you, have more than you, are connected to people that you don't know. I read a quote. I really don't know if it was Nipsey Hussle or not. It says that if your circle does not inspire you, it's not a circle, it's a cage. That's it.
That's great.
That's great.
Yes,
And
yes.
I guess I'll take the floor here. My name is Michelle Everett
Can
Oxley.
we just pause to see if any
Sure,
have any questions? Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Any questions? All
I
right.
have a question. Yes, hi, my name is Faith Anderson. Can you do social work and public administration?
Absolutely.
And how would you go about it?
You said how would you go about it?
Yes.
So that's it. You would try to find mentors and people who are currently working in that field and ask them what the process is. Because when you say public administration, that could be so many different things and so many different agencies. And so it's not limited to, it's so broad in scope that you would have to know what path you want to take. First, you have to get there, right? So first you need to finish what you need to finish at school, make sure that you pass that exam, take that exam as early as possible so you don't struggle like some of us. I struggled with the exam at first, 10 years ago. And then surround yourself with people. And one thing I'll say for everyone, I worked in different parts of social work. I did every area of social work for 1 year so to get experience so that I could know what I wanted for me because everything is not for you.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I guess, Michelle, you're up.
Sure. Firstly, I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity to share. It's always been a dream of mine to be in somewhat of a mentorship type of program, and I do that in my currently I do it in church and obviously in my community. This being one. I have a very unique perspective in social work as well. My current title is President and CEO of BMS Family Health and Wellness Center. As a social worker, who knew, right, that a social worker could actually lead an organization? And I'm here to tell you, if you are listening to the sound of my voice, anything is possible for a social worker, as my colleague prior to me indicated. Again, the sky's the limit. I do agree that I had the opportunity at returning from having a bachelor's in psychology to return to social work by force. I had reached a level, I started out in shelter services, which again was a wonderful platform. It was in the 90s, so I'm sure some of your students probably weren't even alive. But the fact remains is that I was there during the height of the AIDS epidemic. It was a horrific experience, but it taught me to be the resilient person and administrator and social worker that I am today. Henceforth, going forward, 10 years after, reaching sort of a plateau in my career, I was told I asked for $1,000 raise at an organization that I was working for. And at that time, they told me that it was a no unless I had a master's degree. At that time, the OYR program at Hunter College was offering a concentration in aging and health. It was exactly what I wanted. I got a full scholarship and participated in this particular forum whereby my colleagues and I had the opportunity at that time. I'm not sure if it still exists now, but you didn't have to be a frontline social worker. You can major in administration, which I did, with a minor in community organizing. And that's exactly what I'm doing today. I was just so grateful for that opportunity. I went on to receive a health education certification in leadership from Baruch. And again, this was all setting me up for the position that I am in today. I'm really grateful that social work also chose me. I had the wonderful opportunity as a child who was very ill, had a mom who was an RN, and I had a dad who was a lab tech. So they met in healthcare. So henceforth, here I am. I was born very ill. 13 years I had a trach, but I had an amazing opportunity to see what a real social worker does. And that was through my experience at New York Presbyterian Hospital in Harlem. That person inspired me in ways that I can never thank her for. She showed me compassion. She showed my family love. She showed my family the ability to be resilient, even though I was a sick kid. Again, many people didn't think I would be able to rise to the occasion of being a normal child, and not only did I do that, I exceeded that. So fast forward, First Lady, henceforth Michelle O, of BMS, 43 years. They've never had a female lead an organization, nevertheless a social worker, and so here I am. And so what I would say to the students in terms of advice, or making sure that you do have a mentor. I mean, for me, it was Naomi Berger. She saw a door. She gave me the opportunity for a door open, and I kicked it open. And here I am again to speak to you with lots of passion and compassion for the work that you're doing as a social worker. And some may think, it's a thankless profession. Sometimes it is. I'll admit to that. But what I will say though is that from an administrator's lens, I was able to affect change from the back, not necessarily the front. And again, that is another opportunity for grant writing, for opportunities to network with your community organizations, and to again be a change agent on the forefront of healthcare. And I would say, I think the other component, the other question that was asked, what are the ups and downs? Well, at the time, as I said, for me, it was given the opportunity. I know this is not also common to say that I'm an MSW. I'm not an L, I'm not a C, I'm an M. So I've never taken the exam. I never had to because I didn't go on the front line and I wasn't involved in Medicaid billing. But I would, as my colleague said prior, I would recommend that as soon as you finish your education, sit for the exam. For me, it just felt like, hey, why would I do that if I was already breaking glass ceilings? And again, I just encourage you, if you are feeling as though it's a thankless position or role, just remember that you have an oyster of opportunities to be a change agent, and never give up on your dream, and always lead with integrity. Thank you.
Thank you. Angelina, you had your hands up?
Yes. So as a non-traditional student and having seen the butt end of the HIV and AIDS epidemic in our community, I commend you for stepping up and saying something about that, because it is a forgotten epidemic. It reminds me a lot of COVID, but it only hit certain communities harder. So we saw it hitting our LGBTQ network, our LGBTQ community, and we saw it hitting our Black and Brown community. I guess my question for you, I'm going for my BSSW in a concentration of substance abuse, and I wanted to look into community organizing, but more of a policy procedures. What is your advice as far as where should I place myself so that I'm able to see where the changes are needed to be made so I know how to move forward with those changes?
That's a great question. And I do believe it does lie within your passion. You mentioned substance use, and you also mentioned the LGBTQ plus community, both of which are very vulnerable, particularly under, and I know we're not getting into politics, but I do know that the notion of getting not only your degree in social work, but also a KSAC, looking into how you can go about, obtaining that. A lot of programs actually are requiring that. In addition, if you're going into substance use, is to, have that duality, so that again, you become much more marketable. And that is also from the compensation lens, but also from the experience lens, right? Folks that have lived experience, those, again, those are areas where we know that peer leadership matters, and that making sure, again, in those arenas, both in the LGBTQ plus community as well as the substance use, and oftentimes they go in tandem, align yourself with those sort of programs that will give you the best opportunity, whether it's in your internship or even volunteering. That would be my suggestion.
I do have my CASAC-T. I actually did a fast track 1 year program where I got my CASAC-T. I am actively an addiction counselor in the field and doing my internship, learning how to do group facilitation. But I also see, because I am very big into politics, I see like our current NYC mayoral candidates are not really for harm reduction. Now, you mentioned the AIDS and HIV epidemic. That's also during DARE. That's during the whole fear tactic, with the huge arrest records based off of the amount of crack versus the amount of cocaine. So I am trying to get myself more involved. I'm contemplating whether to do a dual degree for my MSW along with my Juris, because I think we don't have enough people that look like us in the field to best support our community. So I really appreciated your input, and both Dr. Williams as well. She came in with a plethora of color. And again, I'm a non-traditional student. I'm in my early 40s, started school, and I'm already gonna get my BSSW, and I have a 3.9 GPA, so I can't even be mad. But it's women like this that show us, and like Dr. Sampson's been a real huge supporter. Every time I reach out to her and I have a question, answers me within a day, and I'm like, this is what I need. So it's beautiful people like yourselves that are here to support us students. So thank you for your input.
You're welcome. All the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a question in the chat. Someone says, if I would like to consider law school in the future, should I change my concentration to gerontology? And is it a good idea to do a dual degree? I have doubts about it. If I can handle the double school load. That's a loaded question.
It is. I think in regard to knowing what you can handle. I think again, self-care, right? As social workers, we often don't look at that as a real opportunity. But yes, I think you can bite an elephant one bite at a time. But what you want to make sure is that you position yourself, to understand that, it may require your ability to multitask and multitask well. Oftentimes people say we don't do that well. But let's break it down. So if you're looking at a law school dual degree, I'm not sure of any programs that do a duality, but there may be some out there. I'm very confident that I've known people who become lawyers and then decide to go back to law school and the other way around. So you may not do it simultaneously, but that's a possibility. Personally, gerontology has always been my love. I have a grandmother that lived to 100 years old. So, Fortune 500 says that gerontological the workforce in gerontology will be a booming demand because folks are not having children as much as they had in the past. So I do advocate strongly for gerontology. I think it's a wonderful profession. So definitely I say yes to that. And in regard to just, again, trauma-informed care, I want to just put a plug in for that as well. Is also something for all of our populations that we're managing, really to be astute in understanding, the implications of ACE and trauma-informed care in any of our populations that we serve. I think will be key, not only to better serve your patient population, but also to ensure that your internal compass for care is regulated. So thank you.
Great information, guys. If there's no questions, we're going to move to the next social worker. And it's no particular order, so anyone can jump in.
I can jump in.
Oh, good.
Is someone going?
No, you
I'll
can
go after you.
Okay, so I have the floor. Good night, everyone. My name is Miss Val, and thank you, Dr. Bacchus. They're calling me Samson. Well, you answered to both of them. Thank you so much for putting this together. Again, my name is Val. I'm a licensed clinical social worker slash therapist. In the day, I work for New York City Department of Education. I work in an elementary school. And in middle school, working primarily with students with special education, doing evaluation. I also work in the STH, student in temporary housing, students that are homeless. So we provide anything from sanitary napkins to food, things like that, you name it. Let's see, education. I received my undergrad from New York City College of Technology, so CUNY grad here. And then I went on to NYU for my master's in clinical social work. Uh, Part-time, I work at an outpatient mental health agency conducting psychotherapy, mostly around depression, anxiety, bipolar, and suicidal patients. And so I do that on the weekends and evenings. What led me to social work? It's a personal story. When I was 17, I became pregnant with my daughter in my senior year of high school. And coming from a Caribbean family, that was a no-no. And so it was to go back to the Caribbean pregnant or you're on your own. And so I ended up at a maternity shelter where I stayed for like 28 pregnant females of all ages. And when I gave birth to my daughter, I entered foster care where I stayed for 5 years. During that time, I had caseworkers, social workers. Some were good, some were not so good. And then I decided to become a social worker. Now, in the Caribbean, social worker was not really a profession. It wasn't really heard of. We were trained not to tell our businesses to people, just keep it to yourself. So I wanted to be a nurse. And I did one semester of nursing, and it wasn't for me. And I switched over to human services, and that's that's where I'm at right now. I think social work chose me. It's been a journey, but it's an intentional journey. And so looking back on my journey, I am so thankful that I had my daughter young because that led me to my calling, my passion, right? I'm not advocating teen pregnancy, but that was my journey. My pain was intentional. Um, what did you? I'm going by your script. So did you? And do I would say take care of yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, professionally. So if that going to workshop or going to therapy, for yourself, right? We cannot pour from an empty cup. So self-care and professional boundaries, those are very, very important. Be aware of your strengths. You have them. Sometimes you have to dig deep, but your strengths are there. Be aware of your passions and then your areas of improvement. Because I'm still improving as a human being. I'm still learning about who I am. So keep learning about you. Do be ethical. Do the right thing. Be empathetic. Be caring. We need more kindness in the world. You can have a degree, but those soft skills where you care and you're kind, you can't replicate that in a degree. And that's what will make you stand out from the next person, right? We need more kindness in this world because what we are seeing that's going on right now in America, in New York, it's discouraging. And I must say that's one of the challenges that we are faced in because I do have to bring politics in this because one of our ethics is about advocacy. Right? We want to do the clinical piece, we want to be social workers, but we have to advocate. And I'm so glad that people are going into different tracks of social work. It's not all about the case management or the therapy. We need to bring harmony, right? Saying, hey, this is a policy that will work for Black and Brown people. So politics where special education is being gutted, where food stamps are being cut, where immigration. We have children in public school. We have parents who are scared to send their children to school because they don't want ICE coming to the school to pick up their children, right? So don't, I would say, right, and then the anxiety that go with this administration is really making it difficult, not just for students, for all of us. Because I don't want to show up to school and hear that one of my students were arrested or went down to an appointment and ICE picked them up because we have cases that happen that way. Okay. I think you're passionate. Let me give a simple. Don't. Don't think that you can't make money in this field. You can make six figures. Don't think that you have to work with a nonprofit or you have to work with an agency. You can be your own boss in social work. Okay, I just want to put that out there. We are not crying broke. We are not struggle happy. All right, you student loans are very heavy. Yes, we do things from our heart, and we are special people. But you deserve to live a fulfilling life. You put in the work to go to school. You deserve to go on vacation and not look at your bank account. You deserve to open your fridge and there's food for you to eat, right? So you can make money in this. Um, let's see. As someone said, the possibilities of social work degree is endless. You don't have to go back to school to switch into a different population or a different domain, right? That's about it that I have. But one takeaway I really want you to take away from this is to please, again, do the self-care. If you're studying and you're working or you're a single mom or you just feel like so small in this big thing that's going on, right? Like, how can I be impactful? And we're so passionate and we want to create change. Think we are great. But in the midst of that, you come first. Go take a walk, have some water, do the best with what you have, and one day at a time and take it from there. All right, so I will end now, but again, thank you, Dr. Sampson-Bacchus, for having me, and it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. I mean, you dropped so many gems. Medgar is definitely a non-traditional school in terms of the students. When you look in the classroom, you can see a grandmother, you can see a mother, you can see a teenager, and all of that is what that's social work right there. And one of the things that I always encourage students is to get therapy. As a social worker, even as a social worker student, you need to be in therapy, all right? Because a lot of times it's like we're like an emotional dumping bin, to say the least, because everyone comes to you, even your family members. They come to you, they tell you everything, and then you're left with what do you do with all of that? What do you do with all of those emotions?
Sure.
So yeah, but thank you. Any questions?
I put one in the chat.
Oh, okay. Are there any resources, sites, or anything else that we can use that is an unbiased source to stay in the know about current times? Oh, yeah, because social media is often rigged. I do not watch the news for my mental health, and it's not because it's not facts. I turn on my TV like once every 3 months. Yeah, I do because every time you turn on the TV is always something that's traumatic, so I can't answer that question as to it, but if anyone have any tips or where we can actually get facts.
If you're looking to get actual facts, like for example, like we were just talking about the current running for New York City mayor, my suggestion to you is know the names of your candidates, do your research. Like we do our research for our papers, do your research. You want to know what they are about. Look up the name of the candidate and look up the topic. If you're looking up like for me, for my field of concentration, we looked up the opioid, how they feel about harm reduction. So even though Eric Adams is out of the race, he was about putting more of these harm reduction programs in place so that people can go in, have a safe place to use, have syringe exchange. But at the same time, he frowned upon the jail sentencing for a crime that you were arrested for that was drug related. So knowing who's running and looking up directly what they're all about. But don't go through Google Scholarly because you want to get real sources, not Wikipedia.
Right.
Right.
I
And
want to add to that if I could. Oh, sorry.
yeah. No, go ahead. You got it.
So I want to say that. So I've been this week, I've been at 4 Meet the Candidates forums because I want to be informed for myself. I want to hear the candidates tell me themselves what they're going to do. I can't watch the news because it's too much clutter for my brain and I'm all over the place. So you can go, and even if you don't go to a Meet the Candidates night, because many of them might be over, you can go to their office. You can call their office. You can ask them what their platform, what they stand for, because we can't control the government, right? We can't control what 47 is doing in the White House. We're not here to say if it's good, bad, or indifferent. However, as social workers or as aspiring social workers, your job is to be knowledgeable about the candidates, the different governments, the different bodies of government, the people that are supporting your neighborhood, the neighborhood that you're going to work in, where you work, all of those things. So for me at this stage, it's really not for us, I don't think, that we can tell you where to get the best information, because the best information for me may not be for you, and that's based on your values, your ethic, political affiliation. The only thing I could tell you is that you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable that you don't know. That's one. And two, get engaged by going to visit office and listening to the candidates themselves so that they can give you the information. And it's not like playing telephone when someone says something and then they miss the part. No, and it's unbiased because it's you and them.
Yeah, if I may ask you, like going right to the government website, the certified in terms of policies and resources and things like that we need because it changes all the time. To New York State, or if it's something along the line of mental health, there's always changes. Or any policies relating to school, the DOE have a website, right? Sometimes getting it there and filtering it, and it also limits the time that you actually consume because this is consumption and then we want to be mindful. It's along the line of self-care and professional boundaries, right? So, but if you have to look up like what are the resources, what are the guidelines do I need to practice within in order to help this client, to help this patient, to help myself? What are the regulations? What are the requirements? Or you can go to those websites to get that information. I hope that's helpful.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Sure. All right. If we can move to the next social worker who wish to speak.
I can jump right in. So this has been an amazing space. I love hearing from my colleagues. My name is Rebecca Severe. I'm a licensed social worker. I'm in the macro realm. So I am in nonprofit management, senior program director of after school programs and extending learning time, which means providing opportunities for my organization to grow and expand our reach within schools. We're currently in over 90 schools across New York City. So I support the program directors who are on the ground running the actual programs and ensuring that they have all of the resources that they need for themselves, their staff, their families and students to thrive within those spaces. Very passionate about youth development, community engagement, community service, you name it. I'm on the ground. When I'm not working, I'm doing community service. I have my own nonprofit organization, Best Brooklyn, bringing essential services to Brooklyn, New York. And I'm actually from Queens, so I have a program that I do each year, which is a college fair, SOAR, Severe Opportunities and Access to Resources. So we partnered with a lot of council members to provide those connections to colleges and resources and scholarships for youth and their families. Um, I attended Penn State for undergrad, where I got my bachelor's in education and public policy, and then I went on to my master's at NYU. I am very, very, very passionate about the work. I'm also now currently a doctoral candidate for education, leadership, and innovation. So, there's always opportunities to move within all those spaces. Um, one of the things that I think is super important as I continue to talk, it's great for us to share what we're doing, but I want you all to also continue to step outside of your comfort zone. I know someone asked about mentorship, that happens outside of your comfort zone. So if there's a networking event, if there's any community event, taking time to go to those things, even if it's by yourself, sometimes it can seem a little nerve-wracking to do that. Those are the spaces that you can find your mentors. Those are the spaces you could find resources. Those are the spaces where you could potentially find your next job. Um, so I definitely encourage all of you to do that. Something I can say about the ups and downs of the profession, when it comes to nonprofit management, and I would say a lot of people have thoughts about nonprofit and the nonprofit world. You can make a lot of money in the nonprofit world as well. So especially in the space that I'm in, there's always opportunities to learn and grow. But also in those spaces, sometimes funding may be an issue given political, climate. So having to be resourceful for your families and ensuring that do these connections here. So this is your first avenue of mentors right here. We're here right now, to support you throughout that process. But also there's opportunities for us to connect as colleagues because there might be a resource that can support something else that someone else is doing. Like Roselle, I think Roselle, right? You're a school social worker. Like I'm in the schools as well. I work with the school social workers all the time. Before that, I was a clinical supervisor as well. So the beauty about the field is that there's so many things you can do. So many things that you do, like Michelle said. Um, so in addition to stepping outside of your comfort zone, always knowing that if there's something that you're currently doing and you might not like it too much, there's somewhere else you can go within the field. You can still navigate and transition throughout the field. Um, and also, right now you have your professor. She organized this space for you, which is great. I hope you all can stay connected as well because this is your first cohort of colleagues that you're working with. So having this opportunity to talk, share what's going on. And then when it comes to what brought me to social work, um, unlike everyone else who wanted to be like a doctor, lawyer, I wanted to be a social worker. I knew I wanted to be. My mom was like, no. She was like, don't you like shoes? Don't you like buying shoes? I said, yes, and watch. I will be able to buy all the things that I want to buy. So in college, when in high school, I knew exactly I knew that's what I wanted to do was education and social work. I was taking my friends to college fairs. I was taking them to I was reviewing their college essays. Wherever I was going, they were going with me because they didn't have the same resources that I had or even know where to start. I had an older brother and he went to college before me, so it kind of paved the way for me knowing what was next for me, but that's not always everyone's path or journey. So I wanted to make sure I brought all my friends with me so that no one was left behind. Um I think I answered all of the questions. Um yes, but I'm available if anyone ever wants to speak even outside of this class. I'm here to support. I'm here to mentor, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you. That's a great opportunity, the mentorship. I hope someone jump on that.
Are we gonna get contact information for the social workers that are presenting today? Because I think that'll also be helpful for us as students. Say, if there's any students here that are in the educational concentration, that would be good for us to have those resources. Hey, I saw you at this networking. I would really like to touch base with you. So I think that would be a good opportunity to get like contact information to be shared.
Yeah, I can do that. And also if the social worker is here, you can just direct message them as well. That would be great.
Excellent.
I,
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name is Faith Anderson. Um, I'm doing a concentration in substance abuse. I just started my social work bachelor's degree this semester, but also thinking about doing a minor or a dual degree in public administration because recently I just joined the NAACP mega chapter and I feel like I want to do something more social justice, but also I also want to do mental health. So how would I like align with everything else I want to do?
Well, social justice is mental health. That's a part of mental health. I think you took a great first step in joining the NAACP because there's many opportunities to be informed, be engaged, and share what you're learning. You're being trained as a social worker, so you can share those tools and resources and skills. In terms of public administration, I think Dr. Zodilia shared just being informed about diving in to see what that means to you because public administration, there's a lot you could do within that field. And that can look like potentially um, reaching out to an organization that has a specific area that you're looking for, attending an event for the organization that you're looking for, reaching out to one of them to just have a conversation and say, hey, I'm interested. These are the questions I have. How do you think I could transition into that space? Um, and then also tapping into anyone who may be working in public administration on this call. I'm not sure if any of us in public administration,
Mhm.
Michelle,
Mhm.
she's in public administration. So you literally have a direct connect who can tell you what her experience has been within that space.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rebecca.
Oh
Because
my God.
what I feel, I think to recognize or to acknowledge, is a venue of where I'm currently a CEO. So many of us know about hospitals. Many of us, and probably even now that with this bill coming down the pike, we've heard of community health. That's exactly what I do. Is community health. We're a community health organization, better known as an FQHC, Federally Qualified Health Center. Our premise is that we turn no one away regardless of their inability to pay. And that is as of now, right? January may be a different tagline, but as it stands, we do not ask folks for the immigration status. We do not ask folks for whether they have insurance or not. So this is definitely public health because what we do also is we have a WIC program as well so that we support our community with an array of healthcare services. We do primary care, we do all sorts of areas of health that again typically will be found in a hospital setting, but we do it as outpatient, and we provide this from they say from the womb to the tomb, but we say from any age category we will serve the community and we will serve them in excellence.
Thank you. Can you please drop your email on the chat? I would like to have a more in-depth conversation about public health and public administration.
Absolutely.
I see a raised hand. Go ahead. Algoni.
Oh, sorry, I put the question in the chat. I was just saying if anybody was interested in giving their LinkedIn info or whatever else they feel comfortable with.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we can move to the next.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Sparks Hall. Good evening, everybody.
Amen.
And thank you, Dr. Bacchus, Sampson-Bacchus, for inviting us to this platform. I get excited when it comes to educating and forming up and coming social workers because I was not somebody who thought very highly of the social work profession before getting into the profession. Undergrad, I'm a proud HBCU grad, born and raised in South Jamaica, Queens, went to Clark Atlanta University, where one of our mottos is culture for service. And so we are big on activism, advocacy. I come from a line of women who are very active in community. My mother is very active in the Southeast Queens community. And so that is always something that kind of drove my purpose. So what I will say is, first and foremost, your passion should become your purpose. Whatever drives you is what you go towards in the field of social work. I'm currently a social worker with New York City Public Schools, formerly Department of Education. I'm very familiar with BMS. I've referred many people to your organization. I've also worked for Partnership with Children, which is another DOE contracted program that provides counseling, like Rebecca's organization, which is Counseling in Schools. And so part of what I do is individual counseling, group counseling, restorative justice approaches and interventions for young people. I currently serve in East New York at Transit Tech High School, grades 9 through 12. And we have a population of students who range from anime nerds, as what they call them, to students who are literally in gangs, to subway surfers. Because I work for the Transit Tech High School, we are attracting a lot of young people who actually do engage in subway surfing. And so I actually had the misfortune of losing a student last year to subway surfing, a ninth grade student. So I was tasked, of course, with providing the crisis center along with one other social worker to providing counseling, grief counseling, bereavement to our students. Because of that, I've sat on a panel to address the issue of subway surfing in New York City. Um, and it's a very dangerous situation for our young people stemming from um, a lack of feeling something in the home. A lot of our students are coming into our schools depressed with anxiety. So mental health and education is always something that I was very passionate about. Before even getting into the DOE, I was also an inpatient psychiatric social worker for health in hospitals, Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn. Um, and what I realized was that I was drawn to the patients who were coming in 18, 19, 20 years old. I started my career in child welfare, ACS preventive services. So when I say I really came up in the game, I came up in the game of social work and started from the ground up. Very young in my early 20s, always thinking social workers are broke, just like what we're all saying now. Social workers don't make any money. It's not a really attractive profession. So my undergraduate degree was in psychology because that was the one thing that everybody kind of pushed me towards. Become a psychologist, become a psychologist. It sounds fancy. It sounds, more distinct, more distinctive. However, when I got my job in the ACS agency, preventive agency, I soon learned that all of the women who were running the show behind the scenes were all SWs at the end. All of the women who ran the organization had LMSW, LCSW behind the name. And I said, hold up, where's the psychologist? I thought these were like the careers to go to. And I was doing a lot of trainings and family therapy. And one of the women who was our facilitator was an LCSW PhD. And I was just super drawn to what she was speaking about and how she was speaking about it in a culturally relevant way. And after speaking to her, even the woman who interviewed me for the job was a social worker. And it kind of drew me into the field. Ups and downs of the profession, I would say it does feel thankless at times, and it can break your spirit depending on the agency you work for. Systemically, a lot of agencies are bureaucratic. They're built on stats, numbers, producing like you're a robot to a degree. And so it can feel like you just don't make any impact, but really you do. And so that's the beauty of working with the DOE and working with young people and having these students come into your office every day. You get to feel firsthand the impact that you're making. When I have students who have IEPs, have autism, they're on the spectrum, and I see the change in their behavior. And I see those young people who were cutting class and heading out to the streets to fight on the street. They're coming to school every single day and they want to be in my office. Ms. Hall, if I had you for a teacher, I would come to school every single day. That means a lot to somebody like me who was a good student, but I came up in South Jamaica where fighting was the thing that we saw on a regular basis. And so now we have students who are coming in and they feel a sense of belonging. And that's what we do as social workers. We help not just to be clinicians, because we are clinicians, we're not just bleeding hearts, we are very educated and well aware people. We make people feel like they belong, as we should. Advice I have for current social work students, I would say again, your passion has to be your purpose. And two, surround yourself with people who are aligned with what you want to do as well. Educate yourself. Join the NASW while you're a student because the dues are cheaper, for one. You get that discount on those dues. Also, look into the National Association of Black Social Workers and get that cultural background, that culturally relevant information that serves and helps people of color in various communities that we are going to be serving, that you are all going to be serving. Use social media to your advantage. There are a lot of therapists, there are a lot of people that are on the ground that have pages, and you may just DM them and say, hey, I would love to have a mentor. Would you be willing to take me on as a mentee? Look into your departments, ask your professors, and talk to your classmates as well, because these are your first colleagues in the game, so to speak. I think I've covered everything. Yes.
I want to add. I want to add to something that Tiffany says is important, because she's a school social worker. I'm a school social worker. There are a few of us here, and we don't all do the same thing. So when you're thinking about even school social work, right? So initially I was on this at school support team, then I did related service, blah blah blah, and now I'm a pre-K social worker. So while I am a school social worker, Tiffany is a different kind of social worker. So you have to know that too. Within the DOE, there's so many different social workers. So you're not even just like forced to stay. I don't remember severe. I can't remember what kind of social worker you are for the DOE. However, we all play a part. So even when thinking about school social work, it can look so different for different people in different ages and stages.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to add, I went to Adelphi University for my MSW. I saw the Adelphi in the background. I said, wait a minute, I didn't add that part. So yes, that is where I earned my MSW while I was working in child welfare. Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out about school social workers. Angeline, you had your hands up?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to give a shout out to all my Queens heads that I've been seeing so far.
Yep.
Being a Queens person, going into Brooklyn and taking that 2-hour trek home, it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside knowing that there are Queens people coming into this meeting. But for Ms. Hall, you talked about subway surfing, and it's funny you mentioned that because I don't know if you published something or if you were creating an event that was public, like was put out there for people to see. But my daughter did a presentation on subway surfing, and your name came up because I helped her with the project, and she said, Mama, there's a bunch of people who are doing like different input into because we lost somebody that was close to us through subway surfing. And it's right over here in Queens, right at like where the Ridgewood Bushwick line meets. And your name came up and when we were doing our research, and I was like, oh, interesting. I saw your name. I was like, it looks very familiar. And then I just looked through her project and I was like, ah, okay. So she had found a bunch of social workers who were working on creating some type of support system for youth who were seeing this as a way to feel something, a way to get to work through their stuff that they're going through at home. So I wanted to just give you your props on that because it is it is becoming almost not an epidemic at that point yet, but it is getting to that point where we're starting to lose a lot of our youth and falling into the cracks because mental health is not serving the space that it needs to serve in our youth. So I just want to say thank you. And again, shout out to Queens people because, I feel kind of lonely out there in Midgard.
I'm from Queens.
Me too. I'm from Queens. Thank you for that shout out.
Yeah.
I was
Me too.
Jamaica
Me
Queens.
Yeah.
That 2-hour trip is awful, but I
You
recently just moved.
We
So,
hang in there.
Yes. Thank you.
Long Island City. So, yep. Well, I was in Jamaica, Queens, but
Oh,
I moved
well,
to LIC.
we're neighbors now because I'm in Maspeth. So
Oh, okay.
howdy neighbor. But
Hello.
I grew up in Jamaica, Queens. I grew up in Hollis.
Guyborough.
I worked on Guy Brewer.
Oh, really?
A lot of Queens folks here. Someone put in the chat and albums.
No Brooklyn in the house. Brooklyn girl.
Neighbor Heights.
Brooklyn is by
Okay.
themselves. Okay.
Brooklyn never rolls solo.
Okay.
Always. No matter what city, state, country, continent, There's always someone from Brooklyn. I don't know why we're everywhere, but we're everywhere.
Always. Brooklyn represent, right? And with that, you can go next.
Okay, okay. Put your hand down.
Yeah.
4-year-old. So I apologize in
Of course.
advance.
No worries.
5 in 25 days. Pray for me. Um, Allison Hunt, but within the work area, outside of work, I am normally Miss Monique, even in a professional setting, but it has to be within the community, Monique. Other spaces, Allison, and the voice changes, I promise. I am, yes, a social worker. I came into social work not of choice. I did not want to be a social worker. I had experiences with social workers. I did not like social workers. I learned the word inept, and I use that in front of every the inept social worker. I learned it too early in life, so I use it frequently. I ended up in social work because when you're in college, to be full time, you need 12 credit hours. And I was that young girl in the 90s that was very focused on all my children and Young and the Restless. And I needed a class that would allow me to still see my soap operas. And Intro to Social Work fit into the schedule. I said, oh, okay, this is what we'll do. However, I did go to school with the understanding that I would major in business and advertising because I wanted to be like the white women in the movie working 9 to 5, carrying a briefcase. I was very focused on being able to carry a briefcase. Don't ask. I'm a 70s baby. It took little things like that. And that did not happen. But when I got into the social work class, some of the students, because I went to Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, historically Black women's institution, and it's a small school, so people know your business, right? And they're like, "Oh, Monique, you're really gonna like social work." I'm like, "Whatever. I just need to be in here because I have to." They was like, "No, because you have all of this lived experience with social work. You're gonna really like it. Social work career is gonna be perfect for you because you'll be able to relate to the children that you work with and things like that." So they said all of that because for the adults in the room that remember the letters BCW, I am the product of it. So that was their now ACS. Sorry. So that was their perception of it. I did not buy into it until there was the research portion of the class where it says, "Oh, you get to present." Translation, that means I get to argue my position and have research to back me up. Okay, I'm in. Now this I can do because I'm a very talkative individual. So that's what got me into social work. Like it was that was it. I had taken one class on the business side and that was macroeconomics. I did well. It was okay. Whatever. But it was pretty much I ended up with a BSW. I did the master's program because my second advisor told me that that's what I was going to do. And I told her, "No, I'm not. I am not going back to school. I do not like school. I don't want to do any more papers and I'm tired of reading." And she says, "And you will be applying to graduate school." And I said, "And I am not." Needless to say, I applied to graduate school because the elder Black women at Bennett College, no, that it just doesn't work with them. You can come in with all of your Brooklyn everything. They're going to set you right. And this is what you're going to end up doing. So I ended up doing that. I applied to one school because they had a fee waiver. And I was told that that's the school I was going to apply to because the application fee was waived. It was Washington University in St. Louis. I being all of Brooklyn, I said, "And where on earth is that?" They tried to connect Budweiser with me. I'm like, I don't drink, so I really don't. I have no point of reference of what it is that you're talking about. There were 2 students at Bennett that graduate that were from St. Louis, Missouri. It's not even a flyover state for me because we don't go west. I'm 95 south, and north is where we stop right here. So I went out there. It was interesting. Met up with my 2 Bennett sisters. They showed me around, helped me find a place to live and things like that. Because again, it's just me. And if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have gone to the school. So, ladies and gentlemen, be very clear on what type of MSW program you're going to go to, because Washington University in St. Louis is a research school. I didn't understand that just based on total ignorance. I just didn't know. It was fee waiver. Okay, that's where they saying you're going, that's where you go. Right? I would have gone to a school that focused more on direct practice. I think I would have been better prepared going into social work at such a young age, swearing I knew everything under the sun and knew absolutely nothing. But you don't figure that out until you're about 30, that your 20s, you knew nothing. Mm-hmm. And where I am now as a licensed social worker, so yes, I want to piggyback on the other social workers that said, take the test as soon as possible, because I waited 10 years. Why? Because I'm not taking that test. I'm not going to pay you to stress me. I will hold on to my own money and stress myself out differently. But career-wise and professionally, you do need your license, and definitely now. There are some, professionals that didn't necessarily need it because of what it was that they were doing. But in 2025, and even within the past 13, 14 years, definitely 15, you definitely need it. And I would go a notch above and say, get your LCSW. We'll put that to the side because no, I refuse to take the test. It's just a test for me. I just don't like it. So where I am currently in social work, because I've been in social work for maybe 25 years or so, now that I'm 50 as of Friday. So what I found to be the ups and downs about social work is that we can be pulled in a lot of different directions, and there's some uncertainty with going into different directions. I find that when you know what you know, you know what you know, you know what you like, stick with it. I knew for a fact many, many moons ago when we had summer youth employment that I was not going to work well with our elders, also known as old people when you're about 14 years old. Like, I knew that working with seniors was not going to be a good thing for me. So, I ended up getting in a job because we live in New York City, so we do what we have to do. And the elders was like, okay, Miss Allison, you're going to go work with some kids because you too much for us right about now. And the elders can be a TMI. So I wasn't ready. They weren't ready for me. I wasn't ready for them. So I knew that that would not be a space for me. And what I had to do is accept that the space that I thrive in, the space that I am most effective in, is working with adolescents. I understand that adolescents have prickly personalities, and I love it all because my personality is still prickly. So we work right together. I'm right there with you with that energy, redirecting. Okay, I'm a talkative person, but I'm trying not to be too talkative. So I'm going quickly to that other. So my advice to you, I think I may have said that already. Know what it is that you want to do. Try everything, throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. I could not stand grant writing in grad school. It was the worst thing ever. Started working at a social work agency, a foster care agency, direct over grant funded programs. So what was I up in there doing? Assisting the development department write grants. I did not realize how cool it was because it kept me with a job, right? So it was like the coolest thing for me. So some of the things that you may not like right now, you may find yourself 10, 15 years from now truly enjoying it. So in a nutshell, do not close the door on anything, even working with the elderly if you realize you should be with the youth. Embrace whatever your lived experiences were that brought you to where you are right now. I have to embrace the BCW background, which makes me an excellent person working in foster care because the kids couldn't tell me anything. Oh, but Miss Allison, you don't understand how it is to be in foster care. And then another kid will chime in and like, you don't know Miss Allison's story. So it really did serve without crossing those boundaries. I think for them, I know for them, because we've had conversations since, that it was a space of inspiration to say that just because this I was born into these circumstances doesn't necessarily mean that my circumstances are going to look like the statistics that they are fully aware of and the statistics I was fully aware of at that time. So, in regards to networking, again, I'm not good at it, so I can't give you any advice on how to do it successfully. Oh, my apologies. That's all I got. Let's just say I've touched foster care in 3 different levels. I'll let you figure out the other level right here. So, yes, that's it. It's after 7, and I don't want to take up everyone's time.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. But grant is where the money's at, right?
Yes, yes, it is. And I'm so sorry, so sorry. Last thing, um, I was told in graduate school that social workers, particularly, don't be disrespectful, particularly Black women, have a tendency of lowballing themselves with their salaries.
Yes.
What I've come to understand is you are not required to work for anyone. It is not even a myth. It's just that's not your requirement in life. So, whatever it is that you can do to monetize your gifts, monetize your gifts. And that's what a sister from my graduate program told me probably 10 years ago. Monetize your gifts, Monique. You can do all these different things. Right. Do your programs, shop them around. And I actually had to listen to her because, again, she's about 10 years my senior, and she clearly knew what she was talking about. And that's what I ended up doing. Also, currently, I do ABA for all you social workers. Side cash, $75 an hour. I'm just saying, there's your
Those
trip
side
money.
hustles, definitely. We all have side hustles. That's where it is. Any questions for Allison?
What's ABA?
Applied behavioral analysis is working with 0 to 3-year-olds who are on the spectrum.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Oh, it is, because one bit me the other day. That's why I didn't decide to go in today.
Wait, one bit you?
Yes, he's 2.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm still devastated. I've never been bitten by a person. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. Yeah, yeah. It was an
I,
interesting experience.
I have a question. Once you've been certified for, because I used to do work with autistic children when I was like 16, 17, when ABA actually started showing progress in early intervention. Is that something that you have to continuously be trained in? Like you have to kind of recertify?
Well,
It's a good
let's see
question,
how
right?
yeah, I don't like starting responses that way. I found them to be so annoying when I'm listening at the panels. Like, oh, that was a great question. It's just a fuller to give you time to think about what your answer is going to be. But that's just me because I stay focused on things like that. I would say that there's a yes and no. They do ask for you to have 10 hours yearly of professional development. What
Okay.
I've found is that they're not specific to what it
Okay.
is. Because I've taken some things in social work that don't necessarily, some trainings in social work that don't necessarily apply to
Mm-hmm.
doing ABA. But, full disclosure, I'm a New Yorker. I fell into it just in conversations with a young girl that I knew when she was in high school when I worked at the foster care agency. She's now an LMSW working with the DOE, engaged, and has a little 2-year-old pumpkin, and she's 35. So when we're talking about relationships, and I told you I don't know how to network, right? So, but I do know how to form relationships. So when we're talking about relationships with people, this is exactly how I ended up in ABA.
I I I use I use a lot of the ABA theories when I'm working with my clients in substance use
Awesome. Awesome. Oh,
because
we need to talk about how you do that.
because it's all about the approach. Like if we're trying to do individual, I do that to my kids on a regular basis, and they're 15, going to be 16, going on
Got it.
40. So, but I love in this field how different theories that we are learning in school can be used in all different facets. Like I'm so far have seen 4 different social workers in the DOE doing 4 different jobs. And to me,
And you
that's just That's amazing.
And you will find that some of the theories, I don't know if you all have well, in the BSW program, you should have not, but I found that someone mentioned um, National Association of Black Social Workers. There is a book, Mrs. Bacchus, I'm going to send it to you, but I have a feeling you already had it in an email. But there's a book talking about the National Association of Black Social Workers. And it is coming definitely from the historical perspective, because now that I'm at this, COVID did great for me in the sense of it gave me an opportunity to think. And I've realized that the theories and practices that we have learned in our BSW and MSW programs do not necessarily, no, not necessarily, they do not center anything from a non-European perspective. And I found that to be quite challenging when I am providing supports to different families and different communities. You may not get that in any of your academic institutions, and you may have to go outside to get that information. Off the top of my head, I think of Jerome Shealy. He's down there at Morgan State. Awesome. Andrew Billingsley. I don't know why he is still alive. He must be 99 or 100, and I'm not exaggerating. He's at Howard University still. So you may want to consider going to some other outside resources to assist you as you are providing supports to the families and the communities and the individuals that you are providing supports to.
Thank you.
Hi, can you drop the link down below for the book? I'm interested in that because that sounds interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome. Give me a moment. Technology and I, we're still developing a relationship.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, or we can move to the next person?
All right, I'd like to go next.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. And Dr. Sampson, when I saw this post in the Black Resource Network, I jumped on it because I love these conversations. I love the opportunity to speak about social work. I don't think we get many opportunities to do this, so I know that's why everyone jumped on here. And I am so impressed with my colleagues and the things that they're doing. So I'm going to jump in. I think Michelle Everett Oxley, we went to Hunter College maybe around the same time because her name looks familiar. So my name is Edwidge Michelle. I am a licensed clinical social worker. That is a story in and of itself for another day. But I went to Stony Brook undergrad, majored in health sciences. Social work was not on my radar. But I was doing social work before I knew I was going to be a social worker. I graduated, started working, had an amazing social work mentor. She ran the nursing home that I worked in like she was the CEO. And I was so amazed. So the administrators, the social work administrators, I tip my hat to all of you. She was running that place like she was there alone. They looked to her and I gleaned from her and I said, you know what, I'm going to get my MSW. She actually discouraged me from getting it, but I didn't listen to her. I went to Hunter College and I did the OIR program, also did the aging and health program. And my first love was gerontology. I had a grandmother whom I adored and saw her age gracefully until I didn't see her age gracefully. And I saw some of the challenges that she had until till she was no longer here with us. So I started the passionate work there. And I knew that if I was going to stay in the field, that I would need to get an MSW. So I was able to get my MSW for free, which was amazing. Um, Social work definitely chose me because I thought I was going to be a nurse, maybe a respiratory therapist, maybe something else in the healthcare field, but the sciences were great, but it just wasn't a fit. When I got my MSW, I knew exactly I was home, started working in the field. I've worked in hospitals, I've worked in nursing homes, worked with doctors' offices privately, worked with health insurances. I'm currently now a care manager with a health insurance company here in New York City. Had a few roles there as a care manager and a care coordinate in care coordination. And I'm now as a LCSW looking to go into private practice. I didn't think that I would be in private practice because I thought, it was kind of glamorized. But when I started working in a different field, so let me back up a little. I've worked in healthcare. I worked in the shelter system. Um, I've worked, where else have I worked? Uh, Gosh, I have to think back. It's been a little over 15 years. It's not that far behind, but I've had the opportunity to work in various settings. But I think what really did it for me was when I worked in the shelter during the pandemic. The pandemic was a great time for us. And I worked with the Runaway Homeless Youth Shelter for young girls. And I saw a lot of them coming into the office. And I think I heard similar stories from my colleagues. And I started hearing them. And they said, you know what, Miss Michelle, I've never talked to someone who looked like me. And in that moment, I knew. I said, you know what? I need to do therapy because if you haven't seen anybody up until this point that looks like you or can relate to your story, we have to do something about this. I have to do something about this. So I went ahead and pursued my clinical social work examination a few times, but was able to get through. The advice that all of my colleagues have said so far, take the exam as soon as you can. And I'll also put a plug in, if you need accommodations, do not be afraid to ask for them. The exam is not going to defeat you. If you need a little assistance or a little help, please get it. Do not be ashamed. It did wonders for me. I had big anxiety with taking the exam because I had taken it several times and had a lot of self-doubt. But once I was able to master that, the exam was done. So I like the opportunity to speak to student social workers because I've seen a lot of our colleagues in different, arenas, different spaces, and I feel like, what the work that some of you are doing in the curriculum and development, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. And I love that the students are here listening. You're getting mentored right now as you're listening. And someone put in the chat as well, where should I look for a mentor? Mentors everywhere. If there's somebody that you see that is somewhere where you want to be, or they have knowledge that you have not yet obtained, that's a mentor. Ask questions, be curious, exchange information like you're doing now. It just only lends for you to not only have relationship, but opportunity to learn and to grow. The opportunities I have had in my career would not have been possible without the MSW degree. I mean, we can do anything. I'm listening to all of you and I'm like, oh, I might want to try my hand on, at that or this. And I don't have to go back to school. All I have to do is, arrange my resume, see what connections I have, maybe a certificate or so, possibly, maybe not even, but I can go do whatever it is I'd like to do. So that's me. I think I rambled a bit, but I hope that whatever I said was helpful to anyone listening. And I'm open to connecting with anybody who's interested in just, I've done career counseling. I forgot about that. I worked for the Department of Labor for a while as an employment counselor, so I was able to do that. Yeah, so I've been able to switch hats quite a few times in my career. I'm forgetting what I've done, but it's been a really great adventure and I'm hoping to see what more my MSW can do for me.
What are some of the accommodations that I've I'm pretty good at test taking, but I've had to take like the K like I have to take the KSAC exam in a few more weeks. And I'm just curious as to what are some of the accommodations that you mentioned, like, hey, if you can get accommodations, get them get them available to you. What are some of the accommodations that you think are or should you suggest that we should ask for when it comes to that part?
Well, I'll say for me, I'm a visual learner, but I realized how I learned was more auditory. So for me, I needed to listen to hear myself read the question so that I could get the gist of what the question was asking me. It was something about me hearing it. So I
Mhm.
needed a room, right? I can't be in the test taking center, talking out loud. That's not allowed, right? So
Yeah.
I had to I had to get a room in order to allow myself the opportunity to use that test taking skill because that was something that I had to learn that I could do and that was helpful to me. So that was one. The second thing was getting a little extra time because if you're reading the question a few times, you need a little extra time, you know. So I was able to get a little extra time based on that, and that made a huge difference for me. You know, we're advocating for people all the time, and sometimes we don't do a great job of advocating for ourselves when we need something. So to Dr. Sampson's point, you know, getting therapy or being in therapy is helpful, but also advocating for yourself. If you need something, don't be afraid to ask. You
Yeah.
know, again, we're really great at advocating for other people, but sometimes we don't always,
We
you
forget to
know.
advocate for ourselves sometimes. I did actually request to follow you on LinkedIn, and I saw that, like you, I'm also a notary public. Um,
Yeah.
and I like that you wear different hats. Again, in the field that I'm in, we're almost like pseudo care managers. So while our clients who are co-occurring with substance use disorder and mental health situations, most of the time it's schizophrenia that we're finding that is showing up. Um, that care management piece is key because a lot of them have no idea what services they have available to them. So I think that's great that you've actually turned your degree to make it work for the community versus how to make it work for how we're supposed to make it work for us. You made it work for them, not really what they wanted us to do with it. So I commend you. But thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that care coordination piece is important. When you see someone having, you know, multiple comorbidities, whether it be mental or medical, knowing how to tie those worlds together and maybe all the different agencies that are involved, really making everything work. We really are the glue
Mhm.
in a lot of that work. And so I'm very proud of what I've been able to do for um, our little ones up into our, you know, the oldest person I've met in my work is 105 years old. So it's
Wow.
been really amazing,
Blessings. Lots of blessings there.
amazing work. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If I may add, with accommodation, that's very personalized. So I must say, like working with your medical provider, don't be ashamed to get a letter and give it to your school now. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone that may need that's struggling. I may need accommodation in classes. You don't have to wait until there's a test. For me, who work with special education and students with IEPs, I am very passionate on making sure that they have the accommodation. Right? It could be something around sensory or anything along that line. But it's hard to say like what accommodation I would need as opposed to what someone else would need because we all have our own challenges. So, I mean, if anyone on the call feel like they can benefit from it, don't struggle alone. Don't be alone. There's ability and disabilities. Just work with your provider to get the letter and submit it to the officer.
Yeah, and every college has an office of accessibility. They all have different names. It may be the office of accessibility, the office of differently abled, et cetera, et cetera. But you can find them, and as long as you have the documentation, you can get reasonable accommodations from the school.
Yes.
I think that comes with um sometimes sometimes us as a student, and I can't speak for myself, but I know that when it comes to how do I navigate, because when we get into college, the New York City DOE, like the high school, when I went to high school, we weren't taught how to manage a checkbook. We weren't taught about financial security and financial how to file for financial aid, what student loans will do to you. We weren't taught those steps. So now that we're in college, we're kind of thrown into a school having to be standing on our own 2 feet going, yeah, I got this, but no guidance. Like we're not taught time management. Um, Professor Sampson knows I'm real big on time management, as I've shown in one of our class presentations. I think it's just a skill about something that can be taught introductory, whether it be at the junior, senior level at high school or in the freshman years at college. Hey, these are the tools you're going to need so that you can navigate for yourself. So you know that if I need accommodations for test taking, I know to go here. So I really appreciate you're looking to like help and navigate.
You didn't take that in the freshman year seminar?
So I took first year seminar for psychology in LaGuardia, but this professor didn't really talk about how to go to a provider, the questions to ask at a provider. It was more of he kind of used that as a platform for his study, which was he was studying um student-centered care. And I'm like, oh, okay, but I'm an older adult. So again, I'm in my 40s, and there's a lot of students that, as some of the students at Medgar will know, I'm really like big on helping people. I'm not a gatekeeper. Okay, there's this option for funding. You need help getting this. This is the department you need to speak to. So in first year seminar, as any professor, if they have a love for what they're doing, then they'll share the information that needs to be shared. But if there's some ulterior motive or they're kind of just there for a paycheck, we're not going to get all the information that's readily available. So I think just if there's a way to teach students, hey, if you see that you need accommodations, you need to get evaluated. Here's where you need to go. Because I think that the youth have lost that inkling to research. They kind of just take things as they're fed.
Can I just chime in and say, sorry, one thing?
Yes, sorry.
The only thing that you said wrong.
Go ahead, say
is that professors do it because we love it. This is the one thing that is not a hustle. This right here, being a professor, is not a hustle. We do not get paid. This is for because we love the profession. Yeah. And I'm the field education director, like her, of the BSW program. And that is not where my money lies. So let me be clear. Professors are not doing it because of the money. Most professors come into this profession, higher education, because they really want to pour into. Now, it could be a lot of things that stop that, bureaucracies, Yes. However, the one thing I need you to know, this is not the hustle. Higher education is not the hustle.
Okay. And you know what? And I'll even piggyback on that. I don't even think the professor was looking for it as a money. It wasn't a cash cow for him, but we were not able to access some of the resources, and he wasn't really geared towards night students. So like there are more services for day students than there are for night students. So when there was an opportunity for a night event, I'm like, hey, professor, like this is during our class. Can we use this as a way to like learn about the services that are available on LaGuardia's platform? And I think, like you said, maybe it's not the cash cow, but there is definitely some type of barrier that's not allowing us to learn at the fullest extent.
It's funny because I've been working in a college for the last. I work at BMCC now. I worked at Mega. I worked at City Tech. What I will say is, as time is progressing, we are seeing more programs, more support programs. There's even programs for like I work for CUNY ASAP, so we're trying to give supports from day one for the community college level. Before they would go off from community college to the senior college, and it's find your way. But now we've seen that there's more programming for even now. Like my program is at senior colleges, so you're seeing now as people are requesting more, or as it goes back to money. There's more money now, so we're seeing these programs spreading far and wide. We see a lot of the CUNYs now have advocacy and resource centers where they do have a social work component now placed into most CUNYs. And I think a lot of it is because a lot of politicians are starting to realize, wait a second, this is what people are requesting. And once again, it goes back to social work and advocacy. People are speaking up. I tell my students all the time, you said something really that's valid about the evening and weekend students. My program, every single thing we do is for day students. So we started telling students you need to start requesting at the college that there be more stuff because you guys make up a sizable population. And we started seeing, not the most, but we started seeing more and more of these programs. And, the big word, advocacy. You can't really teach advocacy. You can show it. You can kind of experience it. And I think that's one of the things about college also. It's kind of like you said, like people come in, and I guess colleges are expecting that you know everything. You know how to read your syllabus. You know how to go to the bursar's office. You know how to find resources. Like my program, we do from day one. We have workshops about all of that. So my big advice for anybody, and if you have friends, if you have classmates, family, join a success program. Join a program within the school. A lot of these colleges, especially community colleges, have tons and tons of supports, and that's mainly because of the population that's there. So that's how I got into social work. So I'm a social worker. Just to jump in, Calvin Wilson, MSW. I failed my license exam, cried in the car, and never tried to take it again. But somehow I was able to find my way, and it was mainly through working for a CBO at a high school and realizing there was no college going culture. I started helping students with applications, started helping them with tours, scholarships, or just thinking about the unthinkable. I was working at a lot of transfer schools and non-traditional high schools. Eventually, they started going off into college, but I started to realize a lot of my students were going from the high school to college and just completely dropping out or not succeeding. So I kept hearing about CUNY ASAP. So I applied for so long to get into CUNY ASAP. Prior to that, I was able to get into CUNY through a program at City Tech, which was the Brooklyn Educational Opportunity Center. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that program. Great programming, and I was working with mainly adult learners. That was probably the most amazing experience because I'm a young whippersnapper. I was 28 years old, working with people who were old enough to be my moms, and knowing I was able to have a really good impact on them, regardless of my age, regardless of their status in life. And then by God's grace, I was able to get a position at CUNY ASAP. That's the longest I've been anywhere. I've been there for 8 years now. I have, like, once again, this is a program where I feel like it combines the academic advisement, but also social work. I feel like the social work skills that you learn are so transferable. We can work anywhere. I've worked in career services. I used to work for some research company. I've worked as a caseworker. I've worked with my 1 year limited permit. I was actually a mental health counselor. Then I got fired. Long story, but we're not going to go into that. And then here at this CUNY position, I really feel like that's where that's why I feel like God sent me. I feel like everything, because I never planned on being a social worker. My goal was to be cool and be a marketer, work in Manhattan with a briefcase. Swear to God, that was my goal. Get a briefcase, work in the city, and walking on Wall Street doing advertisement. And then it's funny because fast forward 20 years later, I am working right by the Wall Street, but I'm working with a different bag as a academic advisor for a support program where we're really trying to make dreams happen. And kind of like you said, really try to make sure students are getting the supports that they need. Because like you said, people do need an advocate. And a lot of times on my end, I'm constantly advocating for my students. Because like you said, it can be intimidating, or there's always a lot of miscommunication between professors and administration. So being that middle person who can really, set things straight. Because I think, like once you said, like in my experience, I know there's a point where there's a lot of professors who are on welfare because being an adjunct professor does not pay. There's some professors who are, out there. I mean, there are some professors who are like jaded and fed up also, but that's normal. But I think if you can find that common ground where students and professors can see that like we're all needed. If it wasn't for students, I had no job. I tell my students that all the time. And my goal, I'm there for that passion. That passion is there. If I tell y'all my story, is crazy. I didn't even expect to get into. I didn't even get into grad school directly. I remember I went to Old Westbury. I was doing business. I didn't like business. Took psychology 100. Hated psychology 100. Took sociology 100, and life changed. I was like, wait a second. I started thinking about my past. My family, we had foster children. When I was in 5th grade, I was part of a program where I was mentoring kindergartners during my recess. But I never think about it how that can be social work a little bit. I was working as an after school counselor from 9th grade to 12th grade. Never once in my head am I saying to myself, I'm having such a great impact. Maybe I should go into social work. I just had that idea of having a briefcase, working in marketing, making 125K per year. And then I remember, I got to my second school. I transferred to Stony Brook. I said, I'm going to go to social work school. Got there, party school. GPA went from a 3.7 to a 2.2. Graduated with a 2.7. applied for the School of Social Welfare at Stony Brook, was on the wait list for the up until the third week of school. And I remember, saying to myself, I'm just gonna get a job working ACS, whatever happens, happens. Got a phone call directly from the dean, Dean Brisbane. And she said, we had to have you. You wrote an amazing um, personal statement that we had to have you. And my personal statement was really about the passion I have for working with the young people in my life from fifth grade all the way until that point. And that was the best decision of my life. I will say the pay is not great, of course, but we find ways to make it. A lot of my friends who work in, finance or making like 3 times the amount of me as me, they always come to me. They say that they love seeing what I do. They wish they can have that satisfaction that I have. When you find your zone, that's what it is. When you find your lane, it's all uphill from there. For me, it's been, like I said, 8 years. This is the longest I've been anywhere. Prior to that, I've worked like 10 jobs in the span of 10 years. And it's just been helpful because those jobs, you'll see as you work in social work, hold on to people you meet. That's how I networked first. I worked so many jobs. I left this school, kept in contact with 5 people from that school, 10 from this school. And now when I'm working here at this job, people from all these places are calling me to work with the students. They're calling me to, for advice. I'm calling them for advice. Um, my classmates in my school, I still keep in contact with them. I graduated 06 and 08. I keep in contact with almost everybody because that network will never, like this field. You will always, people tend to stay in the field. So, I think you have a good chance of, if you meet somebody here today and y'all stay in contact, next 10 years, if it's in God's will, we'll all be here, trading more tales of social work. So from what I could say, social work is a thing that kind of finds you. And once you find that right position, because there's so many different things you can do. Once again, I work as an academic advisor, you know, and a lot of people initially don't see the intersection until they see me. At work, everybody comes to me. They're like, any student that's hard to work with, they bring to me. Any student that has no idea of what their next step should be, they bring them to me, because that's why I would call myself the hope dealer. I remember at a Professor Angel Campos, he used to preach about that strengths perspective nonstop. I used to get annoyed with it. I'm like, oh, here we go, strengths perspective. On his board, it always said at the end of the day, there will always be hope. And it's funny, to this day, I tell my students that anytime my student is coming in and they're not feeling it, they're just depressed, they're going through whatever, my first thing I say to them, I'm glad that you made it here. And I almost 99% of the time they walk out of there feeling completely different. And nothing about money, but for me, a lot of times I get that personal satisfaction. I have a student call me and tell me, I've started my job as a high school counselor, or I'm doing this. Crazy story. One of my students who ended up going to Hunter, getting her MSW, she got a job at Hunter, and we actually did like a huge partnership between me and her, BMCC and Hunter. That was one of the most fulfilling moments ever. One of those full circle things. So you will find the passion. It's going to find you. You just got to stick with it. It's not going to be. There's going to be some days like I'm stressed as hell right now. Part of my language. I'm tired. I've seen like 80 students in the span of 3 days, and I'm just beyond it. But I love what I do, so I'm looking forward to Monday still.
Wow.
I love seeing men in the field. I love seeing men.
We have to acknowledge that. We just have to pause and acknowledge that we have a Black male social worker here.
Yes. I was just going to say, not only male, but you're a Black man in the field.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I get excited when I see male students in my classroom, because oftentimes it's one or two. This semester in my spirituality class, I have 3. I got so excited. I'm like, yes. Because a lot of our clients look like young Black males, right? And oftentimes they're raised by a single mother, and they don't want to see us. They want somebody that looks like them, right? Representation matters. So yeah, we need more male in the field. So.
It's funny. I'm constantly recruiting. Anytime I hear a student tell me like I want to help, I'm gonna take the Human Services 101 class right now, and let me know what you think next semester if you want to keep it going. So hopefully you'll have some more in the next 2-3 years.
Absolutely. And we always come on BMCC's call when you guys, I think it's the Human Service Program. Every year they have where they bring in social work programs to come and speak to the human service students. So we
Well, that's
actually,
coming up soon too. Actually, that's
yes,
coming up real soon. I got
yes,
the invite.
to be on that call. We join it every year. So we get some of your students that come straight from BMCC's Human Service and right into the social work program. So that's
Maybe I'll see you the next one.
sure, certainly. Any questions?
I want to actually respond to Calvin. So, as usual, I want to double down on the thanks for being in the field. There's like maybe one person in the whole darn building in social work that's a male. Um, it's amazing all these programs that have come out for like helping students to really stay in college and, make it through. Because, quite frankly, the American education system does not prepare a lot of people to go to college. They just, they're cutting funding all the time, especially now and whatnot. So I also want to kind of expand on what Angela was saying too. This is also from personal experience as well. And I say this, just out of constructively and also to see if maybe if anybody else wants to share about resources or how to make things better or whatever, not out of criticism. So whether it's here at Medgar or even at my previous college, a lot of what Angela has expressed that has been my experience as well. It is extremely overwhelming, navigating college, especially dealing with administration, my immediate family, nobody is a graduate of college. A lot of this was on my own. I left college after like my first year. It was just too much. Came back after 12 years. So I actually, thank God, I found a outside resource called Blueprint that actually has been able to help me stay in college and whatnot. So the thing is, like, even like connecting to Access VR has helped to a certain degree, but then even then, it's like I forget who mentioned it, like you don't know what type of accommodations you need, and they're not even there to like really tell you or how to navigate that or to like articulate that. So that becomes difficult too. And then like even though like I love all these programs are there, like ASAP or whatever, and I'm like, oh my God, let me go, let's see if they can help me out. And right off the bat, they cut you out because you're not a full-time student. And this has even been the case when we first started out, years ago. Like you have to be full-time, even with financial aid. You can do part-time, but you have to have 3 classes. Granted, I'm getting up there. I had 3 classes and whatnot. And I wonder, like, there has to be other people probably going through these issues too. And they probably just don't go to college because it's like, they don't know if there's help for them. It's like they don't help you and to build all those skills. And it's like, to do it one class at a time. So that's the thing. It's like, even like scholarships, they cut you out. You got to be full time. You want any type of grant, you got to be full time. So it's like, this is like, and then it makes me discouraged. And it's like I can only imagine other people that did not have the resource that I had. So it's like even the part-time tap they came out with that cut me out. If you make 35,000, and I'm like, it's that whole thing, like a systematic barrier, like, oh well, you're poor, but you're not poor enough. Mm-hmm. So it's like these kinds of things are going on. I'm saying like, I'm absolutely appreciative and happy that all these different programs are there to help people. But I guess I just wanted to kind of shed light on that. And I'm not here to talk garbage. So I hope, I want to make sure I say that, because that's not my goal here. So.
No, you made some valid points. I know Angelina is very resourceful. I've had her in the several classes, and anytime she has a resource, she would bring it to me. I would share it on the platform, Brightspace, Blackboard, or wherever, so that students can get it. One of the things that I found is that they are resources. There's so many resources, just that there's a barrier in connecting the resources to the students. That is number one. And number two, some students feel sort of ashamed to go get whatever resources is available. But there is a wealth of resources, even at Medgar Evers. And for my field practicum students, I usually have you guys in a group email. And what I do, anytime something comes to my inbox, I will put it right there. But there needs to be work on bridging that gap with resources and it getting to the students because, for a lack of understanding, how come there's so many resources, so many grants and all of that, and students are still struggling and they're not getting access to it. So that's definitely an ongoing conversation.
I think having, like you said, like you have the common email for the students who are in the field classes. Um, as you stated, I'm one of those students that I have started WhatsApp groups and share that information. Like I started taking the presenters' emails that have been posted in the chat or their LinkedIn links, put them into a note, and then I'll email them out or I'll send them in a group chat, say, hey, these are some resources that are available for us. I'm real big on sharing scholarship opportunities. So like for non-traditional students, there are women who are over the age of 35. You get $2,500 from the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. Um, Anytime I find resources, but I think it's a matter of not being, I took a undoing racism course in a workshop when I was working at Elmcor. And one of the things that they talked about is that we as social workers, we're labeled as gatekeepers, but it's up to us whether we open that door or close it. So information that we get, sharing it. Information that we see, sharing it, and just sharing the crap out of it. Anytime there's a free resource, a free textbook, y'all take it. A lot of students ask me in class, hey, have you seen this textbook? And I'm like, oh yeah, got it. Here's the link. Take it, run with it. So, um, oh, somebody was just asking me how the scholarship. So they only cover from associates to bachelors, but they are looking to extending it into the master's program. I can network. I have some contacts with the board. That if anyone's looking to get into their bachelor's scholarship program, as soon as the master's program drops, I'll let everybody know.
Can I add? Can I add?
Sure.
One, I just want to say that your points are valid. Two, I appreciate you for continuing to fight and coming back because for some people they don't get to come back, and for being the first person in your family to want to achieve this. The good news is that in this era now you have Chat GPT, you have lots of resources that we back when Johnny Phillip, if you understand that, we only had textbooks. There was no phone. There was nothing. We had nothing. If we didn't talk to each other, we were lost in the source. So while the information may not be getting to you in the way that you need it to land, right? Because I know that every school has information. And sometimes it's not accessible because Angelina is able to do it because maybe she has more time. You're working, it could be a billion things. However, what I know today, because everyone is using Chat GPT in every single coursework, they can't write, no one's thinking. You can ask Siri, you can ask Alexa, you can ask Chat GPT, you can ask specifically, prompt it correctly. Can you share resources in my neighborhood that will do for my age, that will do this? So perhaps one of the things that you may want to do is take an AI course because it's about the prompting. While I am not a fan of AI because I like to write myself and I don't want to be trained by AI. I don't want, that's something you could do. If you go to like a website like scholarshipinformer.com, the young lady is Gabrielle McCormick. She's a Black young lady and she received every single degree for free, right? On her own because she did the work. We, including me, we have to be lifelong learners. We have to be assertive if we're going to be social workers. And we have to find the resources because the resources are not just going to come to our lap and say, hey, I'm a resource. There's not possible for one person in a college or two. It's not possible to reach every student. However, what you're doing right now is important because you're advocating for yourself. And then beyond your advocacy, once you advocate, you have the information. Now you have to take action. And now the action is that I'm not going to call all students on this and say, hi, my name is Dr. Zoe and I want to be a mentor. No. You will have to seek us and say, listen, my name is this and I heard you last night to any one of us. That's how it starts. And then you're going to call Angelina. You're going to say, I love what you said. Can you help me that right? Because maybe she has the time to do the work. So beyond the advocacy, beyond the frustration, it's what are you going to do next? Because the clients that you're going to serve, They may not have access to the information. They may not have the internet. They may not have a phone. So you can't just sit back and be like, and I'm not saying that you are, well, I don't know what else to do. No, as social workers, we have no choice but to find it. So you're in a really good place today. And I don't think that any of us, and I'm going to speak for my colleagues, will feel offended or taken in a bad way, because your job is to learn how to be an advocate. You're putting everything that you're learning in the courtroom, and it has to now be put into the real world.
Yeah, I would echo that same sentiment. I'm unfortunately I'm off camera because I'm driving back to Queens. But what I want to also echo that sentiment as well, Doc. I think one of the areas, that again, I came up at a time where, I looked for a job on the New York Times. I had a highlighter, a post of my daughter who, puts in a chat request or keywords, and she's able to obtain the information necessary. I do think AI, again, I'm not an advocate for all things AI, but I do know that that can also be a place in a space where you can explore options. I mean, I was fortunate, as I heard my fellow Hunter OIR colleague, understanding that I went to Syracuse. I was not putting out another dime in my education. And so when that opportunity came about with my employer, at the time it was Catholic Charities, they put out and said, listen, anyone interested in participating or applying to an OIR program in Hunter College. I was the first one, pen and paper at that time. Oh, I had a word processor, but needless to say, I did not have the technology that we have today. But again, I think, victor over victim, I know it is challenging. However, my concern also would be, again, look at employers. Samaritan Village offers opportunities for MSW programs through Stony Brook. I know that personally because my husband works for Samaritan Village. I can tell you also NYU. You walk in the door, I think 6 months. You can acquire any degree as long as it relates to your kernel. Again, looking at employers.
I think we lost you because you're driving.
Okay, sorry. But I just, want to echo the sentiment that resources are something not only that will benefit our future patients, but our need for ourselves. So thanks.
Thank you. I think we heard from everyone tonight. Is there anyone who didn't go as we get ready to wrap up? This was such a great platform, so informative. I'm just going through the list to see if we heard from everyone. And guys, if you have any final questions, you can ask them now as we get ready to wrap up. I'm going to share the email list with Angelina, and she's going to get it to you. And feel free to network. If I have any 220 students here, they often have to do an interview with a social worker assignment. This is your opportunity. I brought social workers to you, so you can just connect, and that's your assignment right there.
I want to thank everybody, Dr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, Miss Oxley, fellow Queens peoples, fellow Brooklynites. I just want to thank all of you for the information, for opening up that door to show us as BSW students that there is no limit to what we can do with our degrees. There's no limit to the education that is provided to us and what we can run and make of it. One of the things that I tell a lot of my clients when I work with them is that we give them the tools and they have to build the house that they want to build with it. We can't make them build our house. We have to give them the hammer, the screw, the nails, and the wood. You need to do what you need to do with it. And this was just proof of everything that it's good to see everything that I'm learning, putting it into practice, and then seeing it reflected back to me from some of the people who are actually doing, who went through the hard work, who did all the sacrifices and showing that the sacrifices are definitely worth it. So I just want to thank everybody. This was really enlightening. I really do appreciate this gave me that spark I needed because I kind of was feeling kind of like down earlier today, like, damn, why am I going through all this? And this is why. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And I really do got to give you a shout out, Mr. Wilson. I love seeing a man in the field. And ASAP saved my butt in LaGuardia. If it weren't for ASAP, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I give you mad kudos because you guys, you do a lot of work. So thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, you had
Keep fighting the good fight.
I wanted to ask Mr. Wilson, are you familiar or working with the BMCC to Morehouse program? Is that you?
No, but I'm connected to the program who's running it. That's Urban Male Leadership Academy.
Okay, I met somebody at a college fair a couple of weeks ago because I rep for Clark Atlanta University at various HBCU fairs, and I know there is a link, like a pipeline from BMCC to Morehouse. And I wanted to have somebody possibly come to my school, my high school, or do a virtual meeting with some of our students to educate them on that program.
If you send me, if you email me, I can connect you with the director of the program. That's Ashton Holmes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you, everyone. This was such a wonderful platform. I appreciate you taking your time to come on board and talk with the students. This was great. And I will be calling on you to do it again. We do this every semester.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the feedback from you guys. And thank you taking out the busy time days you guys have because you guys do a lot. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do one thing.
Welcome.
Okay,
Take care.
everyone. Have a
Good
good
night,
night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.